The clock blinked 3:17 a.m. when the first cop car skidded onto my driveway, lights painting my suburban home in strobes of blue and red. I stood barefoot on the lawn, clutching a dish towel to my bleeding forearm where she'd slashed me with a paring knife. "She's still inside," I panted to the officers. "She's drunk," and that's when I noticed their hands hovering near their tasers. The taller cop, Officer Duvall, badge number 7142, cut me off. "Sir, step away from the residence." Behind him, his partner radioed in the code I'd later learn meant potential domestic violence perpetrator, asterisk. What happened next was a masterclass in systemic bias. They never asked to photograph my wound, never dusted the knife for her fingerprints, didn't even glance at the shattered picture frames littering the hallway, the ones she'd hurled during her rampage. Instead, they listened as she performed for them, voice trembling with practiced trauma. He threatened to kill me if I left. Never mind that I was the one who tried to flee. Never mind the 12 missed calls on my phone to her sister, begging for help. The script was already written. Big angry man, fragile terrified woman. The cuffs bit into my wrists with metallic finality. In the back of the squad car, I made the mistake of protesting. "Check the Ring doorbell footage." Duvall snorted, eyes meeting mine in the rearview mirror. "Those things only store 24 hours. Genius." A cold realization settled in. They knew exactly how this game was played. At the station, the intake form listed my occupation as unemployed. I was a senior IT manager, and my demeanor as agitated. I was shaking from blood loss. By sunrise, I'd been processed, fingerprinted, and assigned a case number that would haunt me for years. #CR-223-48571. The charge? Felony domestic assault with a deadly weapon, the very knife she'd wielded against me. As they led me to the holding cell, a rookie cop muttered what everyone was thinking. "Hope she files a restraining order." The door clanged shut. Somewhere, my dog barked hysterically. And just like that, I became another statistic in the 32% of male domestic violence victims who get arrested instead of their abusers. Have you ever witnessed someone being punished for asking for help? Comment "broken system" below and wait until part 5 to hear how the DM manipulated evidence. The interrogation room smelled like stale coffee and industrial cleaner. A flickering fluorescent light buzzed overhead as Detective Carson, a middle-aged man with nicotine-stained fingers, slid a folder across the metal table. "We have 3 witnesses who heard you threatening her," he lied. My throat tightened. "What witnesses?" "There was nobody else." He cut me off, slamming his palm on the table. "Save it, Carter. We've seen your type 1,000 times." What followed was a psychological war zone. For 6 hours, they rotated detectives in and out, each one weaponizing my exhaustion. "Confess to misdemeanor assault," urged a faux empathetic female officer, "and you'll be home by Christmas." When I demanded a lawyer, Carson smirked. "Lawyers are for innocent people." He played a distorted audio clip, a voicemail I'd left months prior, edited to sound menacing. "You'll regret this," cropped from "You'll regret this career move," said to a coworker. The breaking point came at hour 5. A new face entered Detective Ruiz, holding a Starbucks cup like a prop. "Your girlfriend's at the hospital," he said casually. "Broken wrist. Says you slammed her against the fridge." My blood turned to ice. "That's impossible." Check the timestamps. I was already here when Ruiz shrugged. "Our docs don't lie." Only later would I discover she'd fallen during a drunken rage after my arrest, but the damage was done. The seed of doubt in my own memory took root. Could I have blacked out? At 3 p.m., they presented the deal. Plead guilty to a lesser charge, get probation, and avoid trial. "If you roll the dice with the jury," Carson warned, "they'll see your size 6'2", 220 pounds, and give you the max. My vision blurred. This wasn't justice. It was coercion disguised as mercy. I scribbled my name on the plea form just to make the room stop spinning. The door clicked open. "Welcome to the system, Mr. Carter," Ruiz said, almost cheerfully. "You'll be processed into county by dinner." As they led me out, I caught a glimpse of her in the hallway, smirking, flawless, holding a Starbucks identical to Ruiz's. That's when I understood. The system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as designed, but county jail held horrors. Even my paranoid mind couldn't imagine starting with the initiation awaiting me in cell block D. County jail's intake shower scalded my skin, but the real burn came next. "Arms out, maggot!" Barked a guard. His nameplate read Vargas. He tossed me orange scrubs reeking of bleach and something fouler. "Welcome to Block D home of the baby shakers." The other inmates' laughter crawled under my skin. That's when I noticed the tally marks etched into the cell wall. Later, I'd learn each one represented a wife-beater who'd cracked under pressure. My cellmate was a wiry meth addict named Dex. "Pro tip," he whispered, "never sleep facing the bars." He pointed to a scar on his cheek, a gift from a gang initiation where newbies shanked presumed abusers. That first night, I learned jail's true currency, information. For 2 honey buns from commissary, a trustee revealed her visit to the DAE's office yesterday. For a handwritten apology to Vargas, though I'd done nothing, I got accidentally placed in solitary instead of Gen Pop. Survival here wasn't about strength. It was about playing chess with your dignity. As the pawn. Asterisk, then came the mail. Incident. A letter from my mother arrived shredded, soaked in urine. Guard Torres shrugged. Must have gotten lost in processing. But the real psychological warfare? The weekly victim impact videos mandatory viewing where actors reenacted domestic violence. Like yours. The guards watched me during the graphic scenes, hungry for a reaction. One time, I sneered. That earned me a disciplinary write-up for lack of remorse. The turning point? Finding Dex unconscious after a suicide attempt the same day he'd promised to connect me with a jailhouse liar. His note read, "They know about the phone." My blood ran cold. Because buried in the prison yard was a contraband burner phone, my only hope to contact the investigator who'd found proof of her past false accusations. But Block D had eyes everywhere. And that night, as I pretended to sleep, I heard Vargas whisper to another guard, "Carter's due for a cell search tomorrow. Make it thorough. Asterisk. What they found during that search would send me to the hole for 28 days and straight into the arms of the only man who could crack my case." Asterisk. The hole wasn't a cell, it was a concrete tomb measuring 6 by 4 feet. The stench of urine and mold clung to my skin within minutes. No mattress, no toilet paper. Just a steel slot in the door where guards slid in nutrient paste they called food. My punishment? Allegedly smuggling contraband. They never found the phone, but that didn't matter here. Day 3 broke me. The lights stayed on 24/7. Sleep deprivation conjured hallucinations. I saw her face in the stains on the wall, heard her laughter in the distant clang of doors. The guard's favorite game? Turning off the water valve randomly, then laughing when I begged for a sip. Then, on day 7, the miracle. A new voice whispered through the vent. "Carter, shut up and listen." The voice belonged to Marcus Code Johnson, a hacker serving 15 years for exposing police corruption. His words turned my blood to ice. "Your girl's been texting the DA's assistant. They're fucking." I got screenshots. For the next 21 days, Code taught me the prison's hidden language. Morse code taps through pipes. Notes tucked in meal trays. The guards never noticed they were too busy with their newest toy, a schizophrenic teen who screamed about spiders all night. The day they released me from solitary, Code slipped me a USB drive disguised as a button. "Memorize everything," he hissed. "Then swallow it if they come for you." The files contained her deleted Instagram live admitting she taught cheaters. A lesson, the DA's email approving my arrest despite lack of evidence, a video of guard Vargas planting shivs in inmate cells as I re-entered Gen Pop. Vargas smirked. "Miss us, chore boy?" I smiled back. For the first time in months, I held power. But revenge would have to wait, because that night, the warden announced a surprise cell inspection. And Code's button was still in my pocket. Asterisk. What happened next would force me to make an impossible choice: destroy the evidence or let 200 inmates burn. The cell block alarm screamed at 2:13 a.m. Someone had set fire to the laundry. Carts thick black smoke snaking through the tiers. In the chaos, I watched Vargas and 3 guards barricade themselves in the control booth, their faces pressed against the bulletproof glass like zoo animals. That's when Code's voice cut through the madness. "Carter, now or never." He shoved me toward the maintenance closet. The USB button burned in my palm. Behind its tiny casing lay enough evidence to blow the case wide open, but only if I could reach the prison law library's computer undetected. Across the yard, inmates were overturning tables, howling for blood. A homemade spear whizzed past my ear, embedding itself in the wall beside a terrified rookie guard. That's when I saw him. Jamal, the 19-year-old schizophrenic kid from solitary, curled up under a cafeteria table as 2 gang members advanced with sharpened toothbrushes. The USB could wait. I grabbed a fire extinguisher and charged. What happened? Next plays in slow motion in my nightmares. The first swing caught Big Leon. Off guard, his nose exploded in a crimson spray. The second swing never landed. Vargas' baton cracked against my temple. From behind, I woke up in medical. Wrists cuffed to the bed. Code's dead eyes stared from the next gurney overdose, they said. The USB was gone. But as the nurse adjusted my she slipped a note into my bandages. "Check your Bible. Psalm 137-9. Back in my cell, the pages fell open to a verse someone had underlined in ink. "Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks." Tape behind it? A micro SD card containing just one file, a recording of her laughing. To the DA? Of course I set him up. He was going to leave me for that Starbucks barista. The next morning, Vargas came for me personally. "Transfer to max security," he grinned, "for inciting a riot." As he yanked me toward the van, I realized the truth. The system doesn't just want to punish you. It needs you to become the monster they accused you of being all along. But what they didn't know? The SD card wasn't the only copy. And the person holding the other one was the last face they'd ever expect. The transfer van reeked of sweat and diesel. Vargas had made sure I got the special seat, a metal bench with no padding, bolted too far from the handcuff anchor so my shoulders screamed in protest. Through the mesh window, I watched the city blur into countryside. Max security meant no more law library, no more code, no hope. Then the van lurched violently. Tires screeched. A motorcycle roared alongside us, black helmet, no plates. The guard riding shotgun rolled down his window to yell just as the rider hurled a glass bottle into the cab. It exploded in a cloud of pink smoke. Chaos. The van swerved off-road, plowing through brush before slamming into a tree. Vargas was screaming, clawing at his eyes. The other guard vomited violently. The motorcycle pulled up beside my cage door. The visor flipped up to reveal Elena. My 22-year-old niece, who I hadn't seen since her high school graduation. She jammed a lockpick into the van's mechanism. "Uncle James," she hissed, We have exactly 90 seconds before their backup arrives. Turns out, Elena had been following my case from day one. She dropped out of MIT, learned hacking from dark web forums, and tailed Vargas for weeks. Code messaged me 3 days before he died, she said, tossing me a burner phone as we sped away. On it, a video of my ex transferring $15,000 to the DA's offshore account. But the real shock? The date stamp showed the transaction happened before my arrest. This wasn't a cover-up. It was a premeditated hit. As we ditched the bike in a pre-stashed SUV, Elena dropped the mic. She didn't do this alone. Uncle James, your old boss at the IT firm, was in on it too. The safe house smelled like gun oil and instant ramen. Elena projected the evidence onto a bedsheet nailed to the wall, each file more damning than the last. Your old boss, Charles Whitmore, wasn't just firing you, she said, zooming in on a blockchain ledger. He needed you gone. The pieces clicked. Project Pandora, the secret AI I'd accidentally discovered at work, could predict stock crashes by triggering them. My termination. I'd filed an ethics complaint the week before my arrest. The connection. Charles was golf buddies with the D-Day, my ex. A part-time escort Charles had hired to trap me. Elena played the smoking gun. A voicemail from Charles to my ex. If he takes the plea deal, we're clear. If he fights, make sure he loses. Then came the twist I never saw coming. Elena's hand shook as she pulled up a news article from last month. Charles had been murdered, execution style. And the prime suspect? My ex. Turns out she was playing both sides, Elena muttered. A frozen bank account in the Caymans held $2.3 million, half from Charles, half from an unknown source. We were debating our next move when Elena's laptop pings. A red alert. Vargas had just accessed an old case file, my original arrest report. Why would he care now unless Elena's face paled? She pulled up traffic cam footage from an hour ago. Vargas was at my ex's apartment, arguing. Then gunshots. The screen went static. What we found in her apartment would rewrite everything, starting with who really called 911 that night. Her apartment was in ruins. Shattered glass, overturned furniture. And in the epicenter, Vargas writhing with a gut shot, his walkie-talkie crackling. Unit 7142 requesting backup. That's when I saw her cell phone on the kitchen counter. With her true crime podcast instincts, Elena gloved up and checked the call log. March 14th, 3:08 a.m. No 911 call. My heart stopped. Elena found what Vargas had tried to destroy: an internal police memo. A handwritten confession from a 911 operator. LTs ordered us to log a phantom call post-incident. Said it was to protect the real victim. Signed, Ryan T. Terminated. 3/5. But the real bomb was in the wall safe behind a painting. Elena cursed as she unsealed the file. Operation Pandora objective. Eliminate threats to the market manipulation project targets. James Carter, whistleblower. Ryan T., 911 operator. Detective Carson, my interrogator. The last name made me swallow hard. Carson was marked liquidated. A week after my trial, he'd committed suicide with 2 bullets to the back. Elena uncovered more: a thumb drive with videos of Charles Whitmore being tortured. On camera, he screamed, "It's LT Martinez. He runs everything." Then we heard the sirens. Elena dragged me to the terrace. "Martinez isn't just a cop," she said, pointing to the final document, a CIA memorandum. "He's the architect." The gunfire started before we could jump. What Martinez did to Elena over the next 3 days made prison seem merciful. Because now, I had nothing left to lose. Martinez kept Elena in a blackside shipping container for 72 hours. The GPS coordinates she'd tattooed on her ribs without telling me led to an abandoned Costco parking lot. Security cam footage showed Martinez arriving at 3 a.m. sharp, always the professional. Went in through the loading dock with Vargas service pistol. Stolen during the apartment chaos, a fire axe from the safe house, the one thing Martinez wouldn't expect his own daughter's voice. The recording played through the PA system as I breached, "Daddy, why did you kill Mom?" Elena had dug up the 2009 suicide forensics report. For 3 glorious seconds, the monster hesitated. That's when the axe met his shooting hand. The interrogation lasted 17 minutes. Elena, battered but conscious, watched as Martinez confessed between screams how Project Pandora could crash economies. Why? Charles Whitmore had to die, the real reason I was framed, not for the IT complaint, but because I'd fixed the AI's error that flagged Martinez's offshore accounts. The Glock trembled in my grip. One bullet would be justice. But Elena shook her head. She'd planted everything on dark web forums. By dawn, every intelligence agency would see it. We left Martinez cuffed to a radiator, his own knife pinning the CIA files to his chest. The last thing he screamed was, "You're dead. The whole system's coming for you." Elena smiled through split lips. "We are the system now, Lieutenant." Asterisk, the Interpol alert hit my burner phone at 4:33 a.m. Senator Eleanor Shaw, chair of the Intelligence Committee, had been arrested at Dulles Airport with $12 million in crypto traced to Pandora's servers. But the real shock? Her mugshot showed a familiar face in the background, my ex. Now wearing a U.S. Marshal's badge, Elena hacked the courtroom feed as Shaw confessed. The domestic violence frame-up was phase 1. Discredit me before I could expose Pandora. Martinez was her personal cleaner since Afghanistan, my old IT job. A front to test the AI on low-risk targets first. The senator dropped one last bomb. "You were never supposed to survive prison." Then gunshot. The feed cut to static. 3 months later, the official report called it suicide. But Elena and I knew better. The USB she'd smuggled into Shaw's pocket that night now lives on 1,000 dark web servers, containing Pandora's source code, a list of 137 other James Carters. My final message: the system won't save you. Be your own damn hero. Tag someone who's been failed by the system below. They'll get a notification with this video link. Subscribe for part 2. Elena's war against the remaining 137 targets.